Greetings, WebOS Nation, and welcome to PalmCast Live. This is episode 150 on Tuesday, October 25th, 2011. We're back. It's been a little bit of a hiatus since our last episode, but you know what? We're tired of waiting. We're going to do it again. And so we are back and ready to talk WebOS and everything that's gone on in pretty much the past 3 or 4 weeks. So let's get into this. I've got joining me today, Tim Stifler-Dean, as always. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing fantastic, Derek. Thank you.
Sweet. And also with us tonight is Renee Ritchie of TipB. He's here to do audio visual magics, and also because, you know, he actually used to be a Palm user too.
I'm also Mobile Nations now, so I get to do all the shows and sites on occasion, Derek, and I love it. It's like being cross-platform bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're like a celebrity. You're like the podcast man.
No, I reserve that.
I wouldn't call it a celebrity. I was going to go for podcast monkey.
Yes. I'm barely above the robot on the hierarchy, just because I can complain.
There's Roomba, Siri, Renee.
Yeah, humans.
Well, shall we get into this here? We have a lot to go over, and we're going to go ahead and talk about what's on everybody's mind in WebOS world, if you're still paying attention, and that is what is actually going on with WebOS. And the big answer right now is we don't know. Still.
Didn't we say that last time?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what we said a month ago. We don't know.
Do we not know more now?
we know it's not going to be HTC. They came out a little over a month ago and said, we're considering buying or home rolling our own MOS, or our own I can't talk. Our own mobile OS, otherwise known as an MOS, apparently. Yeah. Where they're talking about we can buy one or we can maybe make our own, and everybody in WebOS land was going, ooh, pick us, we have one for sale. And then I think it was about 3 weeks ago, HTC came out and said, yeah, we actually did look at buying WebOS from HP and decided against it. Again. Because if you may remember, HTC was actually in the running the first time that Palm was for sale. And so that's twice that they've passed up on Palm. I don't know how much HP was demanding for WebOS, but I'm pretty sure it was still a pretty decent deal. You know,
I think it's too elegant.
HTC spent, what, $300 million to buy a little over half of Beats Audio so that they can differentiate their handsets. How about you differentiate your handsets with WebOS?
Don't you get the feeling it's too elegant, Derek, that they want this giant weather widget on the front, and they want it to be like the fireworks of OS?
It would be really difficult to graft Sense onto WebOS, just like it's proven difficult to graft Sense onto a Windows Phone. Whereas they're able to do it really easily with Windows Mobile and Android, just due to the nature of those operating systems. And it would almost be like gluing something on top of WebOS. There'd be another layer, whereas with Android, Sense it replaces the launcher and the widget screen, but it's complementary to, in a way. It's an enhancement to. I don't know. Sense is their big thing, and I don't know how they would be able to add that to WebOS.
Yeah, if they bought WebOS, they wouldn't really have to add another layer on top of it. They just have to change WebOS, right? The thing with Android is they have to put it over top of it because, you know, Android is its own entity. But if they
they put it over top of it, but it's essentially serving as a replacement for functionality that's already there. Android has widget screens with little launcher bars at the bottom, and you can put icons and widgets and whatever the hell you want on these screens and swipe left and right to get to that. And that's exactly what Sense is, but it's their enhanced version of that. There's nothing like that to augment in WebOS or Windows Phone.
Sure.
Nor do you need it. I mean, you look at WebOS and it's a fully realized product. You don't need to differentiate it. It would be your own thing.
Exactly. So the question is, so if HTC isn't going to buy it, who is? Now, since the last time we podcasted, the latest rumor that popped up, and pretty much the only reputable rumor, and it's still a rumor at that, is Amazon. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday on Mobile Nations Live. We're going to talk about it again. I really, as cool as it would be to Amazon, I'm having trouble stretching to make that connection as to why Amazon would do this. They've spent a lot of effort and time and money building an Android ecosystem. They have an Android app store, and I don't know if that's something like Sense you could graft onto WebOS, or what they would get out of having WebOS.
Yeah, well, even if they didn't have the Android App Store on there, Amazon just has a ton of content that they could put right behind WebOS from the start.
Yeah.
And that's good for WebOS, but like you say, what does Amazon get out of this? They get their own operating system that they can put on as many devices as they want without having any agreements with other manufacturers or software, Google or whoever. And
yeah, that worked out really well for HP.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, there's the question, do they try to put their hand in and do the same thing with WebOS that HP did? Of course, HP didn't have the content to back WebOS, to bring people in. Amazon does. But what does Amazon get out of it?
Ooh, Amazon synergy. I would love that. All the Amazon media content just getting synergized and presented to you elegantly on one, master of their own domain phone OS.
Sure. So it'd be essentially the Kindle Fire, but running WebOS behind the scenes instead of Android.
But so much more elegantly. I mean, all those things that we heard about with music synergy, and you drive that out to book and media and everything synergy, and they wouldn't have to use this weird Android flavor thing that they spun off and kernelized. They could actually do what HP could have done, or what Apple does, what RIM does, and be top to bottom, the whole stack, make the hardware, make the software.
Yeah.
And I got to say, there's at least one nice thing that could come from if Amazon were to actually go through with a purchase of WebOS, and that would be, they seem to be a little bit more reliable in the actual enterprise services market than HP. It's really amusing. HP, they decided when Apotheker was in charge and they were doing the split that they were going to go into an enterprise services and software direction. And then every time they tried to sell touchpads on their website, it crashed under the load.
Yeah.
That builds confidence in their enterprise services. Or heck, even their employee store. Mm-hmm. They have, 300,000 employees?
Yeah.
I can't imagine that store would be getting many more hits than that. Crashed under the load. When the touchpad popped up, I was like, come on!
Just the idea of having WebOS as the front end to Amazon S3 and EC2 and all their wonderful web services. Because you look at HP, they bought Vertica, they have like their server arrays, but it's always kind of it's so confused. They have so many different names for different fiefdoms in the company, but Amazon has the guiding mind of Jeff Bezos, and he looks like he wants to kill other systems to watch them die. And just putting WebOS in front of that seems like such a nice kind of a face to that company.
Does.
Yeah, what's their alternative, though, to continue on with Android? Android is already kind of ripping off WebOS with Ice Cream Sandwich.
But Amazon's version of Android or their Fire OS is based on what? Android 2.2, not even 2.3?
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know that they'll ever get to the point where they can upgrade it to 4.0. And they've been working on this for at least a year now, since 2.2 came out.
And do they even care? I mean, they're not surfacing any Android features anyway.
Yeah, they don't have any Google features. They have their own app store. They could completely fork it and start doing their own APIs. You can develop for Android, but if you want to have it on the Fire, you can put in these APIs and it can do other stuff.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. But at the very least, HP has decided that, or at least they seem to be leaning towards deciding that performing a self-lobotomy and splitting themselves into software and hardware companies probably wasn't the best idea. Of course, the inclination behind this was that splitting themselves would make it easier to do business for both companies. Then they realized, oh, wait, both companies will still produce hardware products because even this enterprise side makes servers and stuff like that. And they're going to make printers.
Yeah.
And it turns out when two companies are buying the same number of things as opposed to one company buying all of it, it costs more for both companies. Right. Also, the fact that their stock price dropped by something like 3,000%.
Do you think there was like some guy who said we're gonna cut Palm in two, and he was trying to see if one of the princes would say no, leave it together, I'll give it up as long as you leave it together. I was like, no, cut it, I want my half. And trying to just figure out which one executive to give it to.
Yeah, and of course they split. The Personal Systems Group was their computers division, which contained WebOS, and then they previously split WebOS in two and left the hardware division to rot and die over in the PSG, and sent the software part of WebOS over into the Office of Strategy and Technology, which means precisely nothing. But the guy in charge of strategy and technology, Shane Robison, he's been with HP for some 12 or 13 years, something like that. Actually was driving force behind their acquisition of Compaq. And he's been running the Office of Strategy and Technology as the HP Chief Strategy and Technology Officer. It's sort of like their incubator, where they buy things and sort of start integrating them in there and making them more HP, and then they push them out to the rest of the company. That way they don't contaminate. And if you think about it, maybe that's where WebOS should have been to start, but they decided they wanted to go gung-ho real fast. But Shane is retiring from HP at the end of this month. That's only a couple of days from now, at the least recording time. And they're not replacing him.
Derek, before you move on, can I just ask if these things you made up, are these real organizations? Because it sounds like Office of Strategy and Technology is something you make up for a sci-fi movie when you want a company that sounds real but not too real.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wish I was making this up.
After all of the mess up with Apotheker and everything, HP is probably just wanting to act as if they are doing something to make sense. And creating these organizations and making changes to say, hey, stockholders and shareholders and investors and everybody else, hey, we're actually doing something.
We're busy.
We're not following along the same plan. Yeah.
Now, there are a couple of things that are underneath the Office of Strategy and Technology. They've got, I think Vertica is under there right now, as is some other part of their cloud services thing. And that can easily be shuffled in underneath some other parts of HP, like their enterprise services. They have an enterprise services division where the stuff can and probably should be. The question is, where does WebOS go? Because WebOS just got there. They've been there for the 2.5 weeks, reporting to Shane. And now Shane's leaving, and his office is, well, if there's not going to be anybody in his office, is there an office there?
Recreations and catering. I'm waiting for the press release. It's just it's getting silly.
Yes, we're replacing the Office of Strategy and Technology with the Office of Strategery and Tech.
Stratego.
I'm sorry, I was talking over Tim.
No, I was talking over you, Derek. It's okay.
It was louder in my own head.
Shane is one of those princes that Renee is talking about. He didn't get his cut, so he's out.
Yeah. And it might be, he's been with HP for a while, and, people tend to, you're a high-level executive, you're making decent money, I'm going to retire. And they decided that this was a chance to actually execute a reorganization within HP and decide we don't need an R&D department. Each department can do their own R&D, which is essentially, I think, the way that they're going with this. But still, that leaves the question of, where is WebOS going to go?
Oh, you guys were inventing the wheel? I thought we were inventing the wheel. There's 3 of us inventing wheels? What's going on here?
Well, my wheel's for printers. Yeah. I want my printer to be mobile. That's why I need wheels.
We're building our own printer OS. We're going to call it not WebOS.
Yes. So Shane Robison is on his way out. And right now, when they sent the web software division of the WebOS over to HP, it came down to Ari Jasky, who was in charge of WebOS development, and Richard Karras, who was in charge of developer relations, were reporting directly to Shane. It cuts some steps out of the chain. They went from reporting to a vice president, reported to a senior vice president, reported to the executive vice president, got to the CEO. Now they're reporting directly to a CEO. At least or directly to an executive vice president, at least for a week.
To the current CEO.
Yes, to the current CEO, and hopefully Meg will stick around for at least a year.
Until his podcast is published.
Yes. But in the meantime, at least if you're working on the developer relations team, there's even another rung out of that ladder. HP Vice President of WebOS Developer Relations Worldwide, Richard Karras, has left HP for an opportunity outside the company. Now, this one kind of hurts. Shane leaving, it's maybe not a good thing, but we didn't really get to know Shane. WebOS was under him for less than a month before he retired. Richard Karras leaving, however, he's been with HP at least since February as the head of developer relations and has been really hard charging and making sure that, at least doing what was in his powers to get WebOS developers on the WebOS bandwagon and keep the developers that are here happy, at least as best as he can. He was the force behind the Developer Connect events all around the world, actually getting WebOS developers together and having presentations and actually literally going and shaking hands and babies.
Yeah, he was really fantastic at reaching out to the community. And I think that's probably the thing that hurts the most is that he was connected with the people. He knew people, by name, and now who's taking that spot?
Yeah, and we don't know where Mr. Karras is going. He could be going to Amazon or Apple or Facebook.
We know
Kraft,
it's not RIM the way they're shedding execs.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, this has been a problem with Palm and now HP for a while. I don't know if they just don't compensate their people well, but it wasn't all that long ago that Palm lost Matthias Duarte, the guy who essentially made WebOS what it was, and to Google, and now we're losing Richard Karras to somebody else. We lost I think Ben and Dion to Twitter. No, it wasn't. Ben and Dion just went back to doing open source.
They
lost somebody else to
their
Twitter.
Own company.
Yeah, so we've lost probably half of WebOS to Twitter and Facebook.
Richard Karras was actually the replacement in a way for
Ben and Dion. Yeah, I think Ben and Dion had sort of evangelist roles, but were in charge, whereas Karras is very much in charge. He's an executive type guy. We don't know where he's going. He did come to HP from Lucasfilm, which was an interesting choice, where he was just their CTO there. And don't know where he's going. There's been some speculation or maybe just wishful thinking that maybe he's going to get things ready at wherever HP is going to be selling WebOS, but I doubt that.
I want to believe, Derek. I want to believe. I'm so Mulder about this.
I want to believe, but somebody like Richard Karras, he's been invested massive amounts of time and energy and personal energy.
Mojo.
Yes, he's invested a lot of his mojo into Enyo. And getting WebOS to go somewhere, the fact that he's leaving, it doesn't speak well to me of his opinion of where WebOS could go.
But wait, Stephen Elop left Microsoft for Nokia, and then Nokia went all in on Windows Phone. So maybe he can go to like Amazon or Facebook, and then suddenly they'll go all in on WebOS.
Amazon already has John Rubinstein on the board.
Yeah, we'll see how well that's helped. But what did the message from HP PR say that he was leaving?
HP's message said, Richard Karras, Vice President, Worldwide Developer Relations for WebOS, has decided to leave HP to pursue an opportunity outside of the company, effective immediately. We are grateful to his service and contributions he has made to HP and the WebOS community. Full stop.
Why immediately? He didn't even give 2 weeks?
I don't know. Maybe he did, and we just found out about it that day.
Immediately.
Or he just said, screw it, I quit.
He was like Dave Chappelle with the Oprah money. He threw a staircase down, a bookcase down on somebody and ran out.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know the entire story behind it, but the fact that he's leaving for an unexplained opportunity outside, It just doesn't give me warm fuzzies.
Gives you cold fuzzies.
It doesn't. It's more like cold pricklies.
Cold pricklies. Ouch.
Yeah.
But who's the alternative? Like there were rumors of Facebook because they're another big web company. There were rumors of LG, Samsung.
The latest little batch of rumors came from Clayton Morris. And he's had many more misses than hits with WebOS rumors. I'm not going to go over them because that doesn't need to happen. But he's reported that they're both testing Windows 8 on the touchpads just as a testing platform because it's a dual-core ARM 8 tablet, which is what Windows 8 can run on, so what the heck, why not? But also that they were in serious negotiations with Amazon, already rumored, HTC, already said no, LG, they're the only Windows Phone / Android licensee that hasn't been rumored yet, and Nikon.
Oh, and Samsung.
Nikon.
Nikon.
50 millimeter WebOS device. Nice.
Now, I would absolutely love to have a WebOS smartphone with a Nikon set of optics, or even a WebOS tablet with Nikon optics. Actually have a tablet with a decent camera on it.
Yeah.
I've been trying to burn through my Instapaper queue and all of the 6 Android tablet reviews I have to read. And every one of them talks about the camera and says, it's utter crap.
Yes. Yeah, so's the iPad camera.
What's so hard about putting a camera in a tablet?
They're thin. They want to put the cheapest part in to get the lowest price and keep them as thin as possible.
The phones are thinner, and you've got more space in this.
Pinhole. Put a pinhole camera in there. That'll save them some space.
Yeah.
What? I'm still surprised we haven't heard rumors of Sprint or Verizon buying WebOS because I can just see a carrier wanting to get their evil hands on their own operating system.
Sprint is a no. They might just, well, first, I don't know that they have the money. And they might just buy WebOS to kill it.
Revenge!
Because, I think both Sprint and HP hold a lot of animosity towards each other over how the pre-launch went.
What do you mean?
And Verizon would just be frightening.
VOS!
I mean, obviously, Android or Verizon right now, they could take Android and make their own phone. But I think, right now that none of them have the name recognition for phones.
Yeah.
Like they did before. People want an Android phone, or they want an iPhone, and about 3 people want a BlackBerry.
But they have the Droid trademark. It's Verizon's. It's not Google's. They could easily make WebOS the next Droid line.
People don't associate that with Verizon.
Right.
Remember when the Droid came out and Android finally started getting onto other carriers, and people would go, "Yeah, I want a Droid on Sprint." Well, they don't have Droids. Yes, they do. No, they have Androids. Droid is a brand.
They have Evos.
Yeah. But even then, people go, Evo. What's that? That's an Evo. Oh, is that one of the new droids? No!
It's a Galaxy S2 Evo 4G Epic Touch, whose initials are longer than any of the phones that we on this show own.
With a comma in it. There's a comma in the name of that phone.
That's what makes it classy.
Yes.
A semicolon is going to be the upgrade.
That's like the pinky up.
Yeah.
This is a fancy phone. Wow, I don't even know where we are anymore.
WebOS Desert again.
I can't see any carrier. I'm surprised that carriers haven't been rumored, but I can't see any of them being willing to pony up for that because the development costs are just massive.
Well,
HP decided it wasn't worth the amount of money it would take, and they had massive bags of money. They gave them all to Autonomy's shareholders, but they did have massive bags of money.
And if anybody knows about putting a lot into a platform and it not succeeding, especially WebOS, it would be every platform, every carrier in the U.S. Right? They've all had WebOS phones, and first they've all sucked in their own special ways, but they've also not succeeded with WebOS in any way. So
well, that's all right. AT&T didn't put anything into WebOS. They gave them shelf space.
Yeah, well,
What about some company with questionable copyright respects who's already pirated WebOS and will make it their replacement for their already existing Android fork?
Ooh, can we get ZTE?
Yeah. Huawei WebOS.
Huawei. I want a company that I have to pronounce. Yeah, that would be pretty crazy. A company that comes completely out of left field and catches everybody off guard, like HP.
Disney bought WebOS.
Ooh.
right.
The Pixar phone.
Yes, because those Disney smartphones and cell phones all sell so well. They should start an MVNO again.
The Boost WebOS phone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That would
Clearwire could
that
really
would
do
totally
something like
make my day.
They need some help.
Yeah. What would also make my day is if touchpads were actually to be like publicly available again. You know, HP said that they were going to make have a final run of touchpads to fulfill consumer demand, i.e., consumers being their contracted suppliers and all the parts they had left over. And right now, we haven't seen them. We've seen them pop up all over the place. We've seen them shipping for back orders from On Sale and the HP Small Medium Business Store. They popped up in the HP Employee Store. And just the other day, they popped up on Daily Steals, just the 32 gigabyte version for $240, which is a full $80 more than the fire sale pricing. But they still advertised it as a massive deal. I don't know if they're actually going to pop up for sale to the general public.
That was so ShamWow, Derek, by the way. That was awesome.
Thank you. I try very hard for that. I'm starting to wonder if they're going to be available on HP.com at all.
Well, they haven't said that they would. In fact, they said that they wouldn't, right? So
no, I think they said that they were, they took email reservation. They said we'll take email reservations, and when we have them available, we will let you know
if we feel like it.
Which implies that they're going to be available at some point.
There are a lot of things that have been said that imply stuff.
Karras' golden parachute with 3 million touchpads. There's none left.
Right.
That was Apotheker's touchpad. Yes.
He's building an igloo out of touchpad somewhere.
I mean, I don't know how I'm going to get enough touchpads to build my touchpad fort. I've already got a stockpile like 20, and I need more.
It's going to be like Trio. Remember just before the Trios were discontinued, people were buying like 5 of them and putting them in the freezer because they never ever wanted to not have a Trio. And then if one failed, they would take another one out of the freezer. That's what it's going to be like.
Yeah, I actually I switched. I didn't switch. I have an Android phone, and I got it because I don't want to destroy my precious Pre-3 and Veer. So I have them sitting here nicely and safely. Hopefully, I don't drop them like my touchpad. But I'm mostly using my Nexus S now because I'm like, I don't want you to break ever. I want to keep you. So hopefully that'll work out. Maybe.
Yeah, I dropped my UK Pre-3. I actually dropped it before I took the photos for the review. I was very, very careful about how I photographed it so that I didn't show the gouges I put in the top right corner. I'm just pulling it out of my pocket, and it's been a cold day, and apparently my hands were more numb than I thought they were, and it's just a drop. No!
No!
I have to take photos of that still!
It was like one of those slow motion things where Derek is diving for his phone, and you see it like inches from the floor for like 2 minutes.
It happens so fast.
And you shook your tiny Vader fist. No.
Yeah, it was a frightening moment because at that point, it wasn't really. They were still starting just to become available on eBay. It really confuses me how many have popped up on eBay. There are so many AT&T Pre-3s on eBay. Where did these all come from?
Right.
The warehouse where they're not shipping them from.
I mean, AT&T canceled all of their orders, so they're coming from an HP warehouse or some subsidiary warehouse along the way who said, screw it, we're not sending them back.
Yeah.
We're going to sell them.
Burn all these. Right. We're not burning them. We're going to profit.
Yeah.
Landfill, eBay. Landfill, eBay.
Mm-hmm. And so, the touchpads, I don't know if they're going to be available again, but those that are out there, there's been this interesting project going on. You may have seen some things about it, putting Android on the touchpad. And they've been trying to put Android 2.3 on, mostly because Google never released the open source version of 3.0. But they've actually been getting pretty far in getting Android to run on the touchpad after some bickering amongst the groups. There's Touchpad or DroidPad or Touch Book or
Epic 3G, Touch.
Yeah, there was one group, and then there was CyanogenMod, and apparently they stole code from CyanogenMod, and they complained. They said, "All right, screw it, you take it." And the CyanogenMod guys have actually been working fairly quickly with this, and they've gotten 2 different versions running up. I think one of them wasn't actually done by CyanogenMod, but it used their work to actually have Android running in a card on WebOS.
Right.
If you had a southern twang right now, you'd be Phil Nickinson.
Phil has a southern twang.
He's from Florida. It's south of us.
True.
We're all south of
Florida is, it goes, there's Canada.
The hat, yes.
The hat, which is about A.
We keep the snow off your heads,
It's
yes.
about up here.
Yeah.
And then there's Ohio, and then you get down to the south where you got a bit of twang.
Yeah.
And then there's Florida, which is the north again.
Oh, okay.
I think I might have more of a southern accent than Phil does. Because I live across the border from Kentucky.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. It's too close.
But they're not going to be happy until Android is running my Blender. I mean, it's going to be on everything.
True. Yeah, but they actually managed to get, there's the card version, and there's also dual boot, which they did with some assistance actually from WebOS Internals, the WebOS homebrew group. And they're making a lot of progress on it. There's still some things that don't work quite well, like it runs at full steam even when the screen is off, so your battery lasts about 2 minutes. But
as opposed
it's actually
to the original 3.
Ouch.
Yes. But it's been some surprisingly fast progress on making this work because at least guts wise, it's almost a Stepco honeycomb tablet.
But this is what I don't understand. The only thing compelling to me about a touchpad is WebOS. I would rather have WebOS running on a Galaxy S, like a Galaxy tablet, than I would rather than have Android running on touchpad hardware.
That's because you have taste.
Yeah. You come from iPhone land.
It's just the UI. I mean, like the whole thing that was so special about Palm was WebOS, and you can put that on other hardware, but don't go taking, because Palm hasn't had a reputation for stellar hardware in a long time. So by all means, don't take a struggling OS, not struggling OS, but don't take an OS trying to ram it on touchpad hardware. Take WebOS and make it run on the latest, greatest Android tablet.
It's okay. You can call it a struggling OS.
They wanted a cheap Android tablet, right? Because the touchpad was going for that ridiculous price of $50.
Yeah.
Right. So
they have the Nook.
There are Android tablets out there that you can get for $150. What's the company? Can't even remember the name. Anyway, they sell Android tablets for like $150.
And they're utter
Android
crap.
Tablet that's that cheap. Go that
right. You get what you pay for, which is why they were so excited about the touchpad. $99 for what other companies, with the exception of the build quality, it's plastic. With the exception of the build quality, it's a full-powered Android tablet. Yeah. Like the transformer and the slide from Asus, they're running at they only have gigahertz processors in them, whereas this has a 1.2 gigahertz processor in them that can be clocked up to 1.5. It's it was very tempting, but like Renee said, why would you do that?
Yeah, beat it with the OS stick. Leave it alone.
You're getting angry, Derek, out here. What is wrong with you people?
Derek's got his Hulk pants on. Be careful.
Pants? Why would I be wearing pants? Okay, I've got pants on. It's okay. This is being recorded for video posterity, so I better wear pants this time.
Yes.
And so while they're busy working and making updates to CyanogenMod 7 on the touchpad, HP is actually still pushing out updates to WebOS itself. We just got an update to WebOS 3.0.4, which adds exciting things like a new camera app, in which you can take pictures of yourself with a crappy front-facing camera.
Sweet.
and record videos of yourself, but you can't send them to anybody except from the video app. It added a bunch of smaller tweaks, but they made so many back-end improvements that I almost never experience lag with my touchpad now. This is the WebOS it should have shipped with, and since they don't have to worry about making WebOS for anything else now, they can concentrate on making WebOS for their existing products better. And so WebOS 3.0.4 is out. They also pushed out an update to the App Catalog, Adobe Reader, and QuickOffice.
Nice.
And so they're busy making things slightly better. As Dielectric Jack noted, WebOS 3.0.4 did break some things, like the App Catalog and also Skype. But they've made a lot of updates to Enyo and JavaScript and everything like that made it just so much better.
And now you can sync your non-WebOS phones to the device via Bluetooth.
True.
For making phone calls.
Yes, you can now hook up any Bluetooth phone to your touchpad and use it as a Bluetooth speakerphone. And if that phone happens to support the messaging over Bluetooth protocol, like I believe the most recent Droids do, you can actually do the text message sharing too. Because as it would turn out, that was just an open protocol that HP was using. They just didn't have it open to anything other than WebOS phones. So they've been busy making all these updates. They haven't pushed out an update to actually have the October issue of Pivot available. At this point, why bother? We're going to call it November.
It's going to come out before Playbook 2.0. Don't worry.
Oh,
Start warming up.
Well, before Playbook 2.0. Keith Newman's going to come out before Playbook 2.0. Oh, I'm sorry. That was
well played, sir. Well played.
And they pushed out this update to the touchpad. It came as an actual formal WebOS update. You had to download it, and it would install itself and restored all of your information and all that stuff. But then they actually pushed out a stealth update that surprised us. They made Bing Maps available to all WebOS phones, which was interesting because all the other previous phones, with the exception of we're going to go everything earlier than the Pre-3, from my Pre-2 all the way back to the original Pre, used Mojo for their apps. It was straight HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and it could only run Mojo. The Pre-3 and the touchpad, however, could run Enyo, which is their newer modular framework. If you can listen to the most recent episode of Iterate, myself and Jeff Gaucher were on there with Renee and Mark and Ed.
Seth.
So much like
changing his name to Ed, though, now. That's awesome.
Okay. Yes, his name is now Ed. We were on there with Seth and Renee and talked a lot about WebOS development. He goes over some of the differences between Enyo and Mojo and how Enyo is more modular framework with less HTML and more JavaScript and CSS. And, it makes it essentially supposedly easier to develop apps unless you're a web developer. But you could make an app for a touchpad and then make some tweaks and it would be able to run on the Pre-3 with all of the fancy Enyo UI and all that stuff. And then they pushed out this update that added, well, not an update, they pushed out Bing Maps over the App Catalog.
They replaced the old Maps application.
It replaced the old Maps application, but it confused me for a moment because I'm downloading this on my original Pre from Sprint. It's 2 years old, and
Pre-minus.
It's still running WebOS 1.4.5. It's running half as much WebOS as my touchpad.
Oh man!
And
that was a great update.
And it requires the phone to reboot, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, this is Enyo. They managed to add the brand new framework to a 2-year-old phone that the carrier doesn't even sell anymore. It's the Trojan horse of updates. The people of Troy looked up and went, wow, that is a very nice Maps application. I like it.
That's the advantage of having a web-based framework, though. I mean, we see a lot of people, like Google is famous for that, too. They can just flip a couple switches and suddenly really old stuff is showing really new content.
Exactly. And, that's it. All it required was they did it through the app catalog. And they've done this before with, I think, after 2.0, the app catalog itself became just another app where you could download updates to it through the app catalog and not have to do a complete system update like you have to do with every other OS. And we said you should do that with more applications, but they haven't just yet. But they figured out how to do it still otherwise. You download this and it installs a whole new framework on your phone. Of course, now this has opened up the door to allow Enyo apps on more than just the Touchpad and the Pre 3. Of course, there's still the developer incentive of why would I do that? There are precisely 5 WebOS phone users out there who would download my app. Okay, maybe there are more than that. There are at least 176 of you listening. I'm sorry. I might be a little cynical tonight. There are 6 of you.
Oh, such a hater, Derek.
I know. I'm just...
You make Keith look like an optimist.
Cool. I'm gonna go curl up in a ball and cry now.
Yeah, that is definitely not a compliment.
But it's such a small user base. The Touchpad user base, getting probably a dozen, even 24 apps a day on this. My Pre 3 gets maybe 2 because there's just so many fewer just WebOS phone users, period, than tablet users. And the phone users that still are on WebOS they're in 2 categories. There are the diehards, like me.
Yeah.
I have 5 WebOS phones sitting on my desk right now, versus the contractors. They're still stuck in their contract and haven't upgraded to something else. And those sorts of users aren't typically the ones that are big app purchasers.
Is it also possible that, because I know Palm used to seed a lot of phones to a lot of developers, did they actually give out a lot of Pre-3s? Or maybe developers don't even have them to build on?
No. The Pre-3 was made available in Europe, and in very limited quantities at that. They had the QWERTY phone was available through Carphone Warehouse only in the UK, and only on contract, with no official carrier support. And there was the Azerty version for France.
Azerty!
Yes, that was only available through the Palm Euro store, which only would ship to Europe.
Oh.
Everything else, like my AT&T Pre-3 that I got off of eBay, I don't know where it came from. But I know it's a Pre-3, and it's running WebOS 2.2.
Because it must be really hard if you're a developer to build on especially I think the Pre-3, it has the new screen resolution, it has the new guts, and if you don't have that to test on, you're probably going to be nervous about releasing apps.
Well, you can say you would be nervous about testing on it, but you're going to be, if you make an app specifically for the Pre-3, you're going to be making it available to Derek, Tim, and 20 people in the chat.
Yeah. Half of them work for Palm. Shh.
Yeah, for the most part, the apps that are coming out for the Pre-3 are just updated apps. They're not new apps.
No, there's very little incentive. While they made it easy to make these Enyo apps for phone users, honestly, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. There's very little incentive for a developer to make an Enyo app for a phone.
Yeah.
If you have a functioning Enyo app on the touchpad and you look at it and go, well, that wouldn't take too much work, and you can make it for the phone and open it up to 5% larger of a customer base, sure, go ahead. But, if it's going to take a lot of work to get it down to that size and rearranging things and creating new elements and all that stuff, I honestly don't know why you would bother. And, I've gone from excited, raging podcaster to, I'm sorry, guys, but, it's really hard to justify. I honestly would have a hard time justifying to anybody, hey, you want to get into web development, you want to get into mobile application development, you should do WebOS. With the uncertainty of the future right now, I had somebody ask me just today, my mother is looking to get a new smartphone. What's your website's URL? Well, my website is precentral.net. Unfortunately, we aren't selling any smartphones right now. I would recommend you check out these other sites because they actually have platforms that are viable. But until it's sorted out what's actually going on with WebOS, I think this is part of why Richard Karras left. His job is completely worthless right now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to convince people to come develop for a platform that may not exist tomorrow.
I'm relating my ass off, and there's just no developers.
Yeah. It's an impossible situation.
Unfortunately, with his movement, wherever he went or wherever he was asked to go, it's not a good, like we said before, it's not a good sign of the future for WebOS either, because obviously he didn't see anything. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he is going to another company to set things up so that, WebOS can go over there. But if he's going out for personal reasons that are not related to WebOS at all, then
it could very well be. It could very well be that he just got that offer that he couldn't refuse.
The problem also is Palm and HP were never exactly prompt in getting hardware out. They would always have the best phone ever that came out 3 months too late. And now if you look at Android Central, Phil's getting a new quad-core LTE phone with a kickstand every third day. I was just testing a Rogers LTE stick, and I was getting 50 megabits per second down at Starbucks.
I only get 22 on Verizon.
It's just redonkulous, and they're getting these phones out quick. And the longer it takes for HP to make up their mind, the further and further they are from in this hardware deficit.
At this, HP is not going to make anything new hardware wise. I think they laid off the hardware team.
They're such jerks.
Yeah, they split them apart. Yeah, I like this. They took the two teams, the software group division and the hardware division of the WebOS Global Business Unit, and said, software, you now report to Shane Robinson over at the Office of Strategy and Technology. Hardware, you're still over here in the Personal Systems group. But they forgot that they still all work on the Palm campus in Sunnyvale, and they're in two different buildings, but they're right next to each other.
Right.
So when they looked out the window 2 weeks later and saw everybody in Building 2 where hardware is done walking out with pink slips, go, oh, well, that explains it. Sorry, guys.
We're cutting off your right hand and throwing it in this box. Now, don't look in this box. I want you to know anything that's going on in this box. But your right arm is in there now.
Yes, this is it's Schrodinger's box. What's in there? My future.
WebOS, it is neither alive nor dead, and you can't...
My platform is in there.
I said I was watching that RIM event, and it was the longest keynote in history. It had an intermission in the keynote, and they were showing off WebGL, and they were showing off their HTML5 frameworks, and it made me want to punch, HP in the face one more time, because they should have had that a year ago.
Yeah, they really should have, and they said the layoffs of the hardware group was 525 people. Which is essentially what HP had what HP got when they bought Palm. Palm had 1,000 employees when they bought it, and they laid off 500 in the hardware group. That was half of the WebOS Global Business Unit. The first thing they should have done upon buying WebOS is gone, all right, here's our software group. Take who you want.
Yeah. We're
going to give you 500 more people so you can get this done.
Here's the Envy group. Take the best engineers you can.
Exactly. And they didn't. They may have given WebOS access to all the bags of money, but they didn't give them the resources. Money isn't everything.
It's not like mobile isn't the future. It's so frustrating because every company worth their salt is going all in on mobile. Apple's bet the farm on it. Google is betting the farm on it. Even Microsoft is reluctantly stumbling over themselves to become successful at mobile. And HP is like, well, we finally have everything into place. What do we do? I think we're going to go for coffee.
Yeah, it's...
We'll buy Vertica.
I do have to give respect to the WebOS Global Business Unit and Richard Karras, even though he's not with them anymore, for all the work they have done. They may have had limited resources, but they've done a lot of work and done good things and with what they had available to them. All right, this Trojan Horse Enyo update, pure genius. It's absolute genius. We're going to just sneak this in through the back door and enable this framework on all of these older devices that we said we weren't even going to support anymore.
Yeah.
they're I guess they're still trying to figure out something to do with their time now that they don't have hardware to develop for anymore.
I also want to give huge kudos to you and the pre-central community, Derek, because it's unbelievably they survived the Palm OS, walk through the desert to WebOS. They're not giving up. They're doing everything they can to support. They have always done more than the company which owned the operating system, and they have not slowed down.
This is our third near-death experience in 3 years.
Yeah.
And this one is really bad.
But you're like Rocky. You keep getting up. I mean, Apollo Creed knocks you down. Mr. T knocks you down. Ivan frickin' Drago knocks you down. And you get up and you shake your Rocky fists and you go again.
But have we won yet?
Yeah, and in the meantime, Coach is sitting on the side going, you need to go to the hospital.
You gotta win, WebOS. You gotta win.
You gotta win, then we're going to put your teeth back in.
Yeah.
But, they've done a lot of work and a lot of good things, and I hope that they all still have jobs in the future working on WebOS, or at least, if the day comes that HP decides that they're not going to do WebOS anymore, there are 500 very talented software engineers and PR people and developer relations employees in the WebOS Global Business Unit that should be hired immediately by Apple and Google and HTC and Samsung and Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fight for these people. I mean, it should be a bidding war for these people.
Mm-hmm. And, all those companies, they're hiring new people and putting out new products. And,
quasi-new products sometimes.
Yeah, we should at least touch on the new things that have come out since our last podcast, which boils down to the iPhone 4S, which Renee is an expert on.
A little bit. I mean, it
didn't take much expert.
Siri,
You're already an expert
Derek
on the
loves
4.
you.
I don't know what you mean by Siri. Derek loves you.
This isn't what you love, Derek.
Oh. You see, I was going to get one of you on Sprint, but I don't know about that anymore.
Yeah, Sprint is actually people are complaining about the data speeds on Sprint because the iPhone 4S got it got HSPA plus, not the really fast kind. It got 14.4, but Verizon and Sprint are still EVDO Rev A, so they get about 3.
There's nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry.
And the Sprint people are saying, I get 1! Come on, at least give me the 3!
Yeah.
But it's not the same, and they have Ice Cream Sandwich and the Galaxy Nexus, and RIM is showing off all their stuff, although they're not shipping. They didn't even show off their super phones, so Kevin's in similar kind of sad panda mode as you, Derek. But the industry isn't standing still, and I think
companies like HP and Palm and RIM are getting passed by because they're not willing to move fast enough. There used to be a time when Palm could release a new smartphone every year, and it was only marginally better than the old one. The bump from back in the day, the bump from the Trio 650 to the Trio 755P seemed like a huge jump. I know I was thrilled with it.
Yeah,
but it really wasn't that much at all.
We didn't get Wi-Fi, but look what we did get.
Yeah, we didn't get Wi-Fi, but we got EVDO.
Yeah,
3G. Oh my God! That's amazing!
Look, the antenna's gone!
I can fit it in my pocket and it doesn't bulge out in weird ways. That's so cool. That used to work. And now people get upset when the iPhone 4S comes out, and it's a very good smartphone. There's nothing to fault about the iPhone 4S, but it didn't blow minds.
No, it was an incremental update that people who have an iPhone 4, unless they really want a better camera or they have antenna problems or they need Siri in their life, can probably pass over. But for people who are still rocking the 3G or the 3GS, it's a good update.
Yeah.
I've gotten into so many arguments about the 4S. It
is everything that everybody the 4S is everything everybody wanted, but not in a new case.
Yes.
To which I say, shut up!
Well, I mean, Palm went through that. I mean, the pre-minus to the pre-plus to the pre-2 was, there were minor cosmetic changes, but
you can say that, but still, the iPhone 4S may not be the thinnest phone on the market and doesn't have the biggest screen, but that's Apple's design. The Palm Pre to the Palm Pre 2. This took 2 years to get here, to make it this far, from the Pre to the Pre 2. And it's even the difference between the two. The Pre 2 is a much more solid phone. They spent a lot of time tightening it up, but it's still the same hardware platform. It's still chunky. I hold my Pre 3 compared to it, and the Pre 3, despite only being, it's less than a millimeter thinner, but it feels so much smaller and better in the hand because they went to a different platform. It's a different hardware platform. And, it's...
Gosh, how many phones do you have, Renee?
Well, these are like Apple puts out a new phone like a new body every 2 generations. So there's 5 phones but 3 bodies.
But even the original, the 3G and then the 3GS, they share the same body. But it was still a very solid body. There was nothing wrong with it except that maybe it was plastic and a bit of a fingerprint magnet. What's wrong with the 4 body? It has a glass back, so if you drop it, it might break. The Pre, however, this, as much as I love the form factor, the build quality and quality control on the original Pre, this almost qualified as a faulty product. I had to go through 5 before I got one that didn't just up and die on me.
Derek, if you watch the ice cream sandwich event, Mateus Duarte, in a very, very sharp suit, went through, individually dismissible notifications, a horizontal version of car. I mean, he basically...
if I want a good WebOS phone, I can just get ice cream sandwich now.
It's only partially not true.
Yeah, and they've got... We should touch on that. Mateus Duarte used to be the user experience guy at Palm. He left before they even got bought by HP. This was during near-death experience number 2, and went to Google. And we first saw a little bit of his work with Honeycomb. And we thought, okay, I can see he hasn't been there that long. He did what he could. Ice Cream Sandwich is, Android 4.0, and it sounds delicious just because it's made out of ice cream.
And sandwiches.
Sandwiches make everything more delicious. And so this is the most tasty version of Android yet. And so you can see there's so much of WebOS in Android 4.0. He literally took the multitasking user interface of WebOS, turned it 90 degrees, and put it in Android. Said, "Ta-da!
They'll never notice. Kessler will never figure it out."
It scrolls vertically now. There's not any of the sort of mini zoom in and zoom back out as it cycles through, and you dismiss by swiping to the sides.
And it's gradient free.
Yeah, it's turned on its side. They added individually dismissible notifications to the Android notification tray, just like in WebOS. They added
actions.
Yeah.
They can they can do more than just be notifications. You can act with them.
Yeah, you can interact with them. They have a music player notification now. Gee, who did I see demo of that 2.5 years ago?
To be fair, Apple stole your notification guy, and we stole your notification guy too.
True.
You're like a farmer's market of UI people.
Yeah, you stole our notification guy, and he copied Android.
Yeah. No, but it's weird because, when you first see iOS 5, you think they copied Android, but then you open up Siri, and it's got all these fantastic little widgets, but you can only get to them through Siri. It's like all the stuff you get on a Google homepage or a Nokia home screen, they made them, and then only Siri gets to them. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, they're sitting over there in Cupertino going, "Oh, you want widgets? All right, I'll give you widgets.
Yeah,
I'll give you widgets."
It's like they always give you what you want, but they're kind of pissed off at you for asking. So they do it in such a way as to make you angry that you got it.
How dare you ask me for widgets?
You want a free case? Here's your free case. It's a bumper.
We're going to give you a rubber band with holes in it.
Apple.
Oh, okay. I'm getting angry again.
Hulk pants.
An ice cream sandwich. It's very... Oh, that's right. They added Android Beam, which is touch to share, but enabled between phones.
We were joking. It's like that old IR port on our Trios.
Yeah, it's almost exactly like that, except, it's on a modern operating system, so it can do more stuff. Oh, they added a buttonless interface. There are no physical buttons anymore. Where have I seen that before? It's Okay, I'm getting into
It's
that.
actually interesting because if you look at Google, they instead of licensing Nuance the way Apple did, they hired the guy who co-founded it and just rolled their own instead of buying WebOS, which they should have invented before Palm did because they're actually a web company. They just hired the guy who did WebOS and said, "Okay, make it look like." I mean, it's an interesting approach, an interesting strategy.
It is. And, I'm going to get away from rage casting here. We've been going for about an hour on excited, depressing rage cast.
And Red Bull.
Ooh, no, that stuff is nasty.
Made a Red Bull.
It's, Okay, let's continue on, and let's go ahead and talk about apps. So,
I love apps.
Yeah, Tim, what's your app?
I have 2 apps. I've been looking forward to sharing these because I've known about these for a while. And, excuse me, they're really quick. 2 applications. One of them is for the touchpad called Google XL. We all know about the Google Voice application that was originally made by Connor Lacombe, was pulled from the app catalog, and then was re-released as Google 3.0 for WebOS smartphones by WebOS World. So that's available for smartphones. But now there's a new application called Google XL, extra large, for the touchpad that brings the same service, Google Voice, to the tablet. And it's really, really nice. It's really clean. It works really well. It was released with an introductory price of 99 cents. I'm not sure. Yeah. I don't think that's changed yet. But, check it out in the app catalog. It's available now. It's designed with, the WebOS 3.0, the panels, just like the email application. So everything is smooth and laid out right there to get access to voicemail, text messaging, everything from Google. Plus there's notifications. It's a great application. And I love Google Voice. Everything, with, 7 phones that all of us smartphone geeks have, Google Voice is kind of like you live or you die by how you manage your phone numbers. And Google Voice is where it's at, right?
Absolutely.
So Google XL, check it out in the touchpad catalog. And then the other application that is actually just a preview, it's not out yet. It has been submitted to the catalog. It's called G Plus Preview, and it's by Mike Hillsoff. Actually, he's the developer. Martin has been running kind of like a little Twitter contest. Not only did he recently give away a Pre3 and a Veer with us on Pre-Central, but he's also kind of just having some fun and letting people guess what his new application is. It is a Google Plus client for WebOS smartphones. It's called G Plus Preview. It's not out yet. When it is released to the catalog, it's going to be free because it doesn't have all of the features yet. It's just a preview. It allows you to log into your Google Plus account, into Google Social Network, and look at your stream and check out what your friends are doing. But in the future, he's going to be updating it and releasing the new G Plus application for WebOS smartphones. And so far, it looks really cool. It's really clean. I had a little bit of difficulty when I installed the IPK. It wasn't doing some things right. I wasn't able to see all the data. But getting it working and having it run is exciting because I love Google Plus. I've quit Facebook, basically. I'm Google Plus all the way.
I quit Facebook just because Facebook sucks.
Touche.
Yes. My app is actually, I think it's been in the app catalog for a while, but because the only sports I really follow are college football, because I live in the Midwest, it took me a little while to actually get around to downloading it and using it. But it is ESPN Sports, or ESPN Score Center, which essentially is scores. You pick your teams that you want to follow, and it doesn't give you dashboard updates, because personally, on my phone, I don't like updates popping up just to give me information then going away. I like with the limited limited user space that I have, or screen space on my phone, just to save that for things I need to act on, like emails and text messages and stuff like that. So this enables me to have an app, just let it run in the background. I flip back to it, and it has the latest score for the Bearcats game or whatever Pittsburgh and Florida are doing. Of course, I only use it once a week because I'm only into college football, like the nerd that I am. But you can set your favorite teams. You can also and across all sports that ESPN covers. And when you want to get more information, you just tap on one of them and it fires you right into their website. It's a simple little app, free, but it's good to have even organizations like ESPN having apps for WebOS. So yeah, that's my app. And do you have any patches to talk about, Tim?
No, I don't. They're really,
Okay.
there's been some that I've played around with, but I'm mostly going patchless. I really just kind of enjoyed uberkernel and Govna, and that's it.
Mhm.
Everything else is vanilla WebOS.
All right. That's actually pretty much what I've been doing too, but that's just because I've been too lazy to actually install freeware on my Pre3.
I just installed it yesterday, actually. Again.
All right. Well, then it's time to get to the lightning round.
Pew, pew, pew.
That was excellent.
Yeah, thanks for the pause afterwards. Very anticlimactic.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing. You should totally do that every day.
Professionally.
Yes. I'm gonna get you business cards.
You should run for vice president of the United States.
Timothy Stifler Dean. Pew pew pew. Business.
Excellent. I look forward to it.
All right. Well, our first tweet comes from Davis08, who writes, "Who is left to run WebOS? Phil or Meg? Lol." That's WebOS itself is run by Ari Josky still, at least for now. We poached him from Nokia, and there's no telling where he's going to go after that. Probably to RIM. Left the burning platform to the sinking ship, and now he's going to go to
Exploding
the one
volcano.
that's about to run into an iceberg.
Yeah.
But as for developer relations right now, I don't know. Maybe Chuck's in charge now. There are maybe 4 people left in developer
Give it to
relations.
Lisa. She'll run the hell out of that.
Yeah, I tweeted a couple of days ago that it's gotten really difficult to get to know people within the WebOS Global Business Unit. And it's not because they're not nice people. Everybody there is awesome. But they're always changing.
It's like studying pictures of the leadership of the Politburo, trying to figure out who's next after on drop-off drops.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody, if you're following Apple, you may not have ever met Tim Cook. But a lot of people, they know how Tim Cook operates and what kind of person Tim Cook is because he's been there forever.
15 years.
Yeah, and there's been none of that with WebOS. In the past 6 months, we've gone from, actually I'm going to go back a year. We've gone from John Rubinstein as CEO to Mark Hurd as CEO with John Rubinstein running the Global Business Unit underneath Todd Bradley to Leo Apotheker as CEO, and then John Rubinstein's no longer leading WebOS. It's now Stephen DeWitt, and then Meg Whitman is now the CEO. And, we're splitting WebOS in 2, and these people are going to be reporting to that guy, and these people are reporting to this guy. I thought I could learn all the names I needed to know in HP in, maybe a couple of months.
You could finally pronounce Apotheker and you left.
Yeah. And then, they split it up and they put it under Shane Robinson. Like, who is this guy? I don't like him. He's new.
Are we primed for an Ed Colligan comeback? Did he have the greatest second act in mobile?
Yes.
I want Jeff Hawkins to come back.
Jeff Hawkins. And you meant a plus, Palm. Excellent.
Yes.
Your phone knows your brain. Forget Siri. This is direct, Firefox control of your brain. As long as you think in Russian.
It's interesting that before HP took over Palm, we really didn't have a whole lot of shuffling. I mean, there was definitely shuffling because they were all over the place, but they were struggling. But it wasn't anything like what's happened at HP. And HP has been in this boat for the last decade, shuffling people around and buying companies and selling stuff off. And I mean, not as dramatically as what they have recently, but it is the HP way.
Yes, and it's the giant multinational corporation way. There's only one corporation that doesn't act that way. Our next tweet, we're going to get back into actual lightning round mode here, comes from Six Finger Amish, who asks, will we still get a slab phone? Will the Veer ever get a touch to share update? No, and probably not.
That prototype is sitting on that guy's table still.
Yeah. Yeah, it's... I really don't know. I still go back every now and then and look at those photos and go, oh,
Yeah.
it could have been. But it is not. And the only way we're going to get any new phone is for somebody to actually, buy WebOS and do something with it. And that'll still take 6 months to a year before we see anything. Because these things take time.
Or Derek could break in and take one.
Ooh, yes.
Like Mission Impossible style, fall from the rafters.
Like what Kevin did.
Yes.
He went out to BlackBerry headquarters.
And there's no WebOS security anymore. I mean, they got turfed, so you'll probably get away with it.
True. Yeah, they all got laid off. They were not developing anything anymore. What does anybody care? There's no secrets.
Yeah.
I did ask them if I could see this stuff. I figured it's worth asking, and they said no.
Jerks.
Damn. It's worth a shot.
Just tell them.
Show
Tell
Derek.
them.
I mean,
You
he's
know
earned
who
it.
I am.
Yeah. He's Derek
I will
fracking
fly out
Kessler.
to Sunnyvale, and I will go in there, and I will look at these things, and you will make it happen.
He has a touchpad on a gold chain, and you're going to give him respect.
I refuse to do that. I am mocking my boss every time in the head that I see that happen, and I just did it on the record.
Nice.
I'm fired now.
Again.
Again, yes. Panda Damage asks, if Amazon did buy WebOS, why would they make phones? Wouldn't they just make tablets? Could WebOS phones already be dead?
Harsh.
WebOS phones are dead. AT&T demonstrated that they killed the Veer before they killed the Pixie Plus.
Yeah.
You can still buy a Pixie Plus, new and refurbished. The Veer is gone.
Yeah.
So angry.
Yeah. WebOS phones right now are dead, which means that they don't need to stage a comeback. They can just relaunch.
They can rise like a phoenix from the ashes of HP stupidity.
Yes. They if somebody like Amazon or Nikon or Wendy's buys WebOS, there's an established market for WebOS tablets.
Yeah.
There's the accidental user base.
If Derek takes all the money in his pockets and buys WebOS, there is an established user base.
One person.
I will give you $55 for one.
Sold!
I think I might have a Chipotle gift card in here too. They have Chipotle in Palo Alto, right?
Yeah, it must.
Okay, good. So, there's a market for the WebOS tablet, and they're making apps. They have over 1,000 tablet-specific apps now, plus a whole bunch more that are getting tablet optimized. The WebOS smartphone market, however, doesn't exist anymore outside of the dedicated few. And I just need to stop and look at the comments. They're really having fun with that, Wendy's. Thicker, juicier phones.
The Baconator Plus.
Yes. Yes. I'd like a Baconator with a side of WebOS. So there's no market for the WebOS phones anymore. So they would essentially be launching anew. Mm-hmm. They could take their time and do WebOS tablets and say pump out a Kindle Fire 2 running WebOS. And take their time and wait until they get to WebOS 3.5 or WebOS 4.0 and bring it back together a la Google and Android and have a cohesive cross segment OS that works on phones and tablets. They can take their time on that because there's no market to cannibalize anymore. Take your time, make the tablet OS good. Give it all the features it needs, and in the meantime, be working on everything you need for the phone OS. That way, when you pump it out, you go, ta-da, there it is.
It is blow away.
Exactly, blow away.
Yeah.
Like the Palm Pre.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to Derek. Just hire Derek.
That would be amazing. I've got my resume ready. I don't think it's quite tweaked for HP, but they hired Leo Apotheker, and he got fired.
He didn't even get an interview. I mean, they didn't even talk to him first.
Yeah, I don't need to actually talk to this guy.
Yeah.
What the heck? JD Mac 89 asks, do we stick with WebOS and our Frankentree 2s and touchpads and keep fighting the WebOS OS fight? Or is it time to leave like Richard Garris? It's time to fight! Actually, it's up to each one of us. It's not just a job to me. I like WebOS. It's my platform of choice. And given the option, I will continue to run on WebOS. I might pick up a phone or two on other platforms, but WebOS, barring any unforeseen circumstances, is my platform of choice. It doesn't have the app selection, it doesn't have the features, it doesn't have the hardware. But I just, I pick up an iPad, or I pick up a Nexus, or I pick up a whatever the heck is running Windows Phone, or
A Titan,
and I pick up a BlackBerry and I laugh. But I pick these up and I work with them like, oh, this is nice. But there's something about WebOS and the way that it is designed that just makes it so much. It fits with the way that I work.
WebOS is my phone. There are other phones, but this one is mine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Derek, if Glory, Glory, Hallelujah is Creative Commons, I'm going to edit that over that segment. That was spectacular. We will fight!
We will fight! Drabney asks, why does the Yahoo page constantly refresh and prompt me to log in over and over? 2 reasons. 1, it's WebOS browser. 2, it's Yahoo.
A match made in not.
Yes, Yahoo should buy WebOS because, if there's anybody that can't botch something, it's Yahoo. No, AOL.
Jerry Yang has a proven leadership position in web-based company.
Netflix.
Nice. They'll spin it off into Webster.
Yes, I love it. XD1936 asks, could you go around the circle and say what you would A, wish would happen, and B, what you think will happen in the next 3 months? Renee.
I wish that an Amazon or a Facebook, a company that understands the web, has a desire to own the space and has a track record of success, an established user base, will take WebOS and go all in on it and make it their bid to own part of the mobile future. What I think will happen is that HP will continue their blithering, stottering, neither this nor that approach. And like Derek said, it'll be Schrodinger's OS, neither alive nor dead, until Derek finally loses it and strangles the life out of that blithering company.
Tim.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's really not a whole lot more to say besides that. I would love for another company to pick it up because HP has proven that they are incapable of doing anything right with this platform. Okay, maybe that's a little harsh. They've done a few things right. I can't think of them right now, but so,
it'll come to you.
Random chance dictates there must have been some accidental rightage.
Yes.
Yeah.
At some point, they will pound out Shakespeare. In the meantime, we've got what we've got. What I wish would happen is somebody like Amazon or Sony or Burger King comes by and actually buys WebOS and does something great with it. And I'm sure there are companies out there that would love to do it. The question is, how willing is HP to submit to their terms in that we aren't going to pay a whole lot for this? There's a lot of patent value in WebOS right now, and they've got a ready-made OS for whatever you want to do with it. But I don't know who is going to do that, which leads me into what I think is going to happen in the next 3 months. Right now, I have this sinking feeling, this pit in my stomach that says, unless some miracle happens, nothing. Which makes me sad.
Yeah.
And I really want to avoid that, where we get to the point where HP just says, we're done, and we're going to sell off the patents. I don't want them to go, we're going to take WebOS and put it on our printers, because nobody wants that. Nobody. They said, we're going to put WebOS on computers? Cool. And tablets? Awesome. And printers? What?
There was another thing that was brought up a couple months ago that nobody's really talked about much. But the alternative to HP just saying, you know what, we're done, kill it off, sell off the patents, and that's it.
Open source.
Another company buying WebOS would be to open it up and allow anybody to basically open sourcing. We haven't really. That was something that was discussed a couple months ago, and nobody's really saying that's an alternative now, but it is.
Because it's not an alternative to HP.
No, well, not
even Meg Whitman has said that they're going to explore they're going to try to derive as much shareholder value out of it as they can, which may boil down to we're just going to sell the patents. And I really hope it doesn't come to that. I've got that feeling that it will, but I'm sure that there are people in other companies and in HP that are working to make sure it doesn't.
Sure.
But open source, I think there are too many things within WebOS that would prevent it from being open sourced. They're having problems with Google right now. Nobody sued Google outright except for Oracle because they've got crazy Uncle Ellison in charge. But, they have massive patent issues with Google, and it's supposedly open source. They went to the point, with Linux, the only real successful Linux, apart from, the fact that Android is built on Linux and to an extent Mac OS X, or Mac OS 10, excuse me, and iOS are built on the same Unix core. The only successful Linux distribution, if you can call it that, is Ubuntu. And they had to create their own font because they couldn't license something as basic and ubiquitous as Helvetica.
Yeah. Roboto.
Right.
Yeah. So I think there are massive issues that would prevent something like WebOS from being open source. Something like Enyo, a home-built framework based on open source things like HTML and CSS and JavaScript, that could be open sourced easily. But WebOS itself, I think there's too much in it that would be, they may have it licensed now, the patents and the technology from other companies to do it, but they don't have a license to give it to everybody. And then there's still the question of who's going to be in charge of this. HP's not going to be in charge of it anymore. Android works as open source because Google is there doing 99% of the development. You open source WebOS with nobody doing anything with it right now. Who is going to do anything with it?
Rod Whitby.
Okay, he's one guy. He's a great guy and an awesome programmer and doing a great job leading WebOS internals, but what's he going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good, right? But I don't think that something like that should be dismissed. HP has done some crazy things. Companies do crazy things all the time. Anything could happen. At this point, anything seriously could happen.
Aliens could descend from the moon, having tired of looking at Android and RIM having market share, and force humanity to buy WebOS devices again.
For real, yeah.
Yes.
No, I think that
would make my day. I would have reason to go to work in the morning.
We aliens do not like stuttery scrolling. You will force you to buy WebOS.
That's what still blows my mind about Android. Android 4.0 running on dual-core 1.5 gigahertz phones, and it still lags.
Yeah, the thing with Android, though, is it was originally designed to be a BlackBerry or Windows Phone standard replacement, and then they switched after they saw the iPhone. And I think it's really hard to change direction after you've built the phone. They would have to have started from scratch to make it work like an iPhone.
Yeah.
So it's always going to have that, not based on design, not based on capacitive touch interface until they scorch the earth and rebuild.
Glam de Ring 92 asks, if HP can't sell WebOS, what do you think they'll do with it? What do you actually think they will do? Tim.
They'll just kill it.
It's a loaded question, I know.
Yeah, if they can't sell it, they're done with it. They're
kill
finished.
it, sell it for patents.
They're trying to sell it because they don't want it.
Yeah, they don't want to spend the money that it would take to actually do it. I wrote this when I wrote that HP has neither balls nor brains. Like, did you not do the research on how much this might actually cost you?
Right.
Yes, it's going to cost billions of dollars, and they're not willing to spend that money. And they weren't willing to spend it then, they're not going to be willing to spend it now that they've already killed the product.
It's like they're in front of Judge Judy going, yeah, we have the big screen TV and the Xbox, but he owes me $300 for the car. It's so strange.
It is. Yeah. It's very strange.
You knew who you were when you dated him.
Yeah, that's what we need. Judge Judy should buy WebOS.
Listen, it's stupid. Just make a good phone. It's not rocket science.
Okay.
I was making phones back before you were even around. Well, that is the end of the lightning round. We ended on a bit of a dark, crazy note there. I don't know when we're going to get the Night Court WebOS, but it could happen. There's still hope, and I'm not going to run a campaign on hope. Most because I don't want to get into politics, and running for office is a pain in the ass.
Kessler for hope! Kessler for hope!
Oh, you don't want me for hope. Have you listened to me in the past hour and a half? I'm the
Kessler for snark.
Yes. I'm a snark and cynic professional.
Nice.
Which is probably not a good thing. But, there's still hope for WebOS, and I'm sure there are plenty of people that are working to make this happen. It's all dependent upon the higher-ups actually signing off on it.
Snark,
so
we
in the
can
meantime, we're going to sign off. The PalmCast is sponsored by the PreCentral.net accessory store, where you can get all of your WebOS accessory needs. You've got chargers and touchstones and cases and screen protectors and all that stuff to protect your precious WebOS device, since they aren't making any more. You can catch us all on Twitter at PreCentral, and individually you can catch me at DKDSGN. You can catch Renee at Renee Ritchie, and you can catch...
My name is Tim.
Tim.
Some call him Tim.
I don't know why. I wanted to say Phil and say he's not Phil. He's not Phil. I talk to him every day. His name is not Phil. Tim. It's been a long podcast, and I have bacon on my mind now because of Wendy's.
His name is Bacon.
Yes. You can catch Bacon on Twitter at Another Guy. You can catch us all on Google Plus somewhere, and you can catch all of us except for Renee because he's some iOS guy. You can catch us all doing our thing every day on PreCentral.net, and we'll catch you next time. See ya.
Bye, everyone.
I demand that Derek get a WebOS #1 fanboy shirt and put that damn touchpad on a chain.
No! Mostly because if I drop it, there aren't any more to replace it.